Hello, hello! Welcome back to Loki's Librarian. If you are new here, welcome. I am your librarian, Katrina, and on Sundays I do a thing called Books and Booze, where I review a book and mix up a cocktail. It is the last Sunday of the month, meaning it is time for a look at another book on religion, making this week's book Apocalyptic Islam and Iranian Shi'ism by Abbas Amanat. The accompanying cocktail is an Apocalypse Negroni, which is 1 ounce of red vermouth, ½ ounce of Campari, ½ ounce of Navy strength gin, 2/3 ounce lemon juice, 1/3 ounce of rich sugar syrup, which is 2 parts sugar to 1 part water. I'm just using regular simple syrup because that's all I have, and I just didn't feel like making one. 3 dashes of fee foam cocktail foamer and 6 drops of chocolate bitters and a scant pinch of salt. There's a lot going into that for a not very long review, so let's do this. So I'm not quite sure what I expected of this book, but what I got were some, let's go with interesting connections. I mean, on one hand, it's everything you would expect from a religion that expects the end of days to come at any time. Kind of like the Christians who gave away all their stuff on September 25th because they believed the rapture was about to happen. That's sort of going on every day in Iran, right? They live under the expectation that the apocalypse is just days away. I can't imagine a more depressing way to live, but that explains the bizarre theocracy they got going on there. Only what Amanat traced through these, only this belief in the apocalypse happening, Amanat traced through the Islamic belief through Islamic texts of the Islamic version of the rapture, if you will. That's kind of what I got out of this. Yeah. Which is what led to the ultimate religious justification for the Ayatollahs taking over Iran after the Shah fell in 1979. They're like, hey, the rapture is upon us. Do you want a secular guy to be in charge, or do you want, us to be in charge? We're the spiritual leaders of Iran. If we're in charge, then maybe we can all go to heaven. At least the men can, because women are treated like shit in Islam. Sorry, I am projecting here. I have seen nothing to say otherwise, but there it is. All right. You know what? I'm gonna pause a moment here and do the next ½ ounce. 2/3 ounce of lemon juice. I'm gonna squeeze the lemon, and then I'm gonna pick up from where I was at, because I need to not project my fucking beliefs and opinions here. Sure, I'm gonna call that good. Now, why is this belief oddly specific to Shia Islam and not Sunni Islam? So for that, you kind of have to jump over a little bit to Google AI just to explain the differences between the two, because it's not really addressed in this book. And Sunni Islam is, the majority of Islam is Sunni. What did I say, 1/3 ounce, 6 drops of this, 3 dashes of fee foam. Yeah, that's probably more than I needed. Fuck it. I just don't care anymore. Salt's going to be the real fun one, because I could use saline solution. It actually does that, or you can use a scant pinch of salt. I'm doing the scant pinch of salt. Why? Because I didn't want to make saline solution. It's not the saline solution that you would get for, like, eye drops for your eyes. Don't do that. That's like if you want to shit your pants, go ahead and use eye drops, but really, not really. 3 dashes? I'm shaking this up. Like I said, this review is not very long, so I wanted to get the cocktail made right away so I got something to drink. So let me shake this up. Okay. An Apocalyptic Negroni. Apocalypse Negroni. All right, the difference between Sunni and Shia, because that kind of is relevant, all right? In 632 CE, the Prophet Muhammad dies, okay? The religion split in two at that point. The Sunni Muslims, the majority, believe the leadership should be chosen by community consensus, kind of like the Pope in Rome is not chosen by all the Catholics, but he is chosen by the College of Cardinals, right? The College of Cardinals determines who is the next holiest of holies. And the Sunni Muslim hold their religious councils much along the same line to decide who is the next to be their religious leaders from there. Sunnis are the majority of sect. They represent between 85 and 90% of Islam. Subsequently, they're the most widespread. Shia Muslims believe leadership should pass through descendants of Muhammad's bloodline. Now, they don't have to be direct descendants. In fact, the first prophet to take over, or the first imam to take over after Muhammad, was not his direct descendant. It was his cousin / son-in-law, so he's married to his daughter. But his bloodline does have to be represented in your family tree for you to be eligible as mosque leader, if you will. And this is between 10 and 15% of the Islamic population, and according to Google AI, they are primarily located in Iran, Iraq, Azerbaijan, and Bahrain. Now, I am not so sure about that. We know from Nadia Murad's story that I read earlier this year that the Sunni Muslims in Iraq were the ones who orchestrated her heartbreaking story, and she was Iraqi Yazidi. But sure, Google, let's go with that. Iran, Iraq. The book also mentions Iran, Azerbaijan, even Bahrain. Iraq is mostly only mentioned in context of the Iran-Iraq War of the 1980s. It ran from like 80 to 89, I think. Let me try this one. Got a little bit of bitter in there, which makes sense because of the Campari. It's kind of a major component of it, but that's not too bad. I think if I had had the super rich sugar, that would have probably canceled out the Campari a bit. But it's not too bad. It's drinkable as it is. So I'm going to call that good. So that's where we're at. Now now that that's explained, this book is primarily about an even tinier subset of Shia Islam, 12er Shia Islam. So they're like the subsect of the subsect, right? And from here is where they get the apocalyptic visions of the future. So what is 12er Shia Islam? Now, 12ers believe that an imam is divinely appointed, infallible spiritually, and the political successor to Muhammad. They possess special knowledge and authority in interpreting the Quran and Islamic law. Now, this is not going to be all imams. This isn't because we've had a hell of a lot more than 12 since, 632 when Muhammad died, right? But even more specifically, the 12ers believe that there are 12 specific imams, beginning with the first after Muhammad, Ali ibn Abi Talib, is going to end with Muhammad al-Mahdi, who has not yet appeared, but his appearance will herald the end of times. Now, quick side note, the Sunni Islams also believe that when Muhammad al-Mahdi appears, the end times will happen, but more specifically, he's going to appear just before the Day of Judgment. They just disagree on when that day will be. And he basically traces through who else they think have been these specific imams, and then where does it go from there, right? I mean, how close are we to Muhammad al-Mahdi actually appearing? Armed with this information, it becomes a lot easier to follow the information as laid out by Amanat, and a lot more horrifying because he includes the breakaway of the Bab, which is what led to the Baha'i faith. Kind of like how Episcopalian is considered Catholic light, the Baha'i faith is a lot more forgiving and welcoming than the wider Islamic faith, all right? Like, retrospectively, when people claim that Islam recognizes Jesus as one of God's prophets, I feel like they're probably describing the Baha'i faith, which includes the belief of unity of all religions and unity of humanity, and includes divine truth through messengers, which include Abraham, Moses, Buddha, Jesus, and Muhammad. So, yeah, I'm kind of like, when they say that Islam is a religion of peace, I kind of think they mean Baha'i, which is not strictly Islamic anymore. They don't even really use the Quran as one of their primary doctrines, which is, of course, anathema and, is that the one I'm looking for? I think it might just be anathema, actually. But that's why they are so persecuted in Iran. So the Babi faith came first, founded by the Bab in 1844, who declared the imminent arrival of a greater prophet, which in Islam can pretty much only mean the Mahdi. So from like 1844 on, the Baha'i split off. They started thinking apocalypse was happening now. And like 20 years later, 1863, and you had Baha'u'llah, say that correctly, who was one of the Bab's followers. He claimed to be that prophet, which pretty much explains why the Baha'i faith is so heavily persecuted. I mean, aside from just being Islamic light, not necessarily following the Quran anymore, they were like, wait a minute, we're totally Team Allah here, Team Muhammad, so I don't think so. Basically, somebody with bigger guns in the 19th century said, nope, you're not the next prophet, and forced the religion underground. Baha'u'llah was persecuted throughout the rest of his life, but his and the Bab's religion hangs in there to present. They're a minority faith, the Baha'i. They have a major temple, I guess, in Israel, according to this book. But then also, I know they're like the largest temple they have is in Illinois, I think, interestingly enough. A pretty heavy chunk of the book was dedicated to tracing the Bab, books he read, books he wrote, and how he has influenced modern apocalyptic thought in Iran, and the pushback against the Baha'i faith that has experienced, and that then kind of bridging the gap between the Baha'i being pushed out and early 20th century, which would eventually give rise to the Ayatollahs being in control of everything, and the expectation that the Mahdi was coming, and like any day now he's coming. Now, do note, I don't necessarily think this is what the author believes. He is merely laying out how we got from Muhammad passing in 632 up to 2005, 2006, somewhere in there, when then President Ahmadinejad starts making noises like maybe he's the Mahdi, maybe he's the harbinger of the apocalypse, right? His book was published in 2009. given the state of affairs in Iran, it would not surprise me if the Ayatollahs are looking at each other like, you might be it, right? I mean, they're dropping like flies there for a while. I'm not gonna lie, guys, that's kind of all I got from this book. I'm sure there's more to it, but this one was a really rough read for me. And it's only 251 pages, and I fought tooth and nail to read it all. It was hard to keep my interest focused on what was in front of me with this one. I mean, and a definite part of it was the notations. Like, instead of just saying 1256 for the year, he would write it as 654/1256, because Iran counts the year from the year Muhammad moved from Mecca to Medina. Not even the year of his birth, the year of his death. That would make sense. But from the year he moved from Mecca to Medina, which was like 622 Common Era. So there's this double date thing throughout. And then he would include Arabic phrases followed by the English translation or English followed by Arabic translation. There's no real rhyme or reason to how he was doing these notations, but it would break me out of it trying to figure out, wait, what is that? Okay. And for some reason, I couldn't get my brain to focus and just gloss over the Arabic because I don't speak, I speak a very vague lick of Arabic, but not enough to be like, oh, okay, and have it really dawn on me as that's what he means. Or even Persian. He might even be meaning Persian in this because Persian is the language of Iran. I think it's not Persian. What's it called? What language is spoken in Iran? It's not Persian. It's Farsi. Farsi also, okay, it is Persian, also known as Farsi. So, yeah. So he might even be referencing that. I don't know, but it was very hard for me to follow. It's kind of like why that's kind of why the first part of this review was notes from Google AI, because I had to keep looking things up to make it make sense to me in context of the book. That and the dates thing just. It kind of marked it as, Katrina, you are not the target audience for this book. And which is okay, all right? Not every book is written for everyone. I mean, if I had to guess, his target audience is religious scholars, Iranians living in diaspora who want to know how the hell Iran became this theocratic hellhole, and political wankers who want to claim expertise after reading one book. That would be my guess as to his target audience. Since I am none of those things, this book was just a slog for me to read through. It was hard. I managed it. I read every page, but it's not something that I'm going to be like, I should read that again. At least not anytime soon. Maybe if I ever become a policy wank, but for now, it just wasn't me. But if you fit the categories outlined above, if you are a student of theology, this would probably be very interesting to you. If you are Iranian living in diaspora, this is probably going to speak a lot to you. And if you're a political wanker, there's not much I can do to help you there. That's just a poor life choice on your side. But you'll probably get more out of it than, And that's it for this week. If you liked what you saw, don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you guys next Sunday. Bye.